children in school, for example, if there is one child who is very strong or very fat, they'll say he's exactly like Bhima. And that is the kind of total livability and contemporariness of the Mahabharata today.
Don't kill me!
But a Bhima, played by an actor from Africa?
When we went to India, we saw very, very clearly nothing would be worse than to copy and do a phony reproduction done by non-Indians of the way Indians would stage.
So director Peter Brooks staged the Mahabharata with actors from around the world, making the epic accessible to audiences everywhere.
No, but he's in this shot.
In all my conversations with Peter, I have often asked him why he works with an international group. And one of the things he has said is that if in such a small group of mixed races and colors and countries, we can create something that is harmonious, then the world has a chance. The Mahabharata cuts across everything. It cuts across time, color, across race, across language. It's the same issues that have continued to face human beings over millennia.
But I want to be discontented, dissatisfied.
The malice of the Kaurava cousins and their leader Duryodhana comes to a head when they take advantage of the eldest Pandava, Yudhishthira, who now rules the land.
Now, Yudhishthira is otherwise a very virtuous man, but his one weakness is gambling. And he comes knowing that the game will probably be rigged. And over days and days of playing,
I have won.
Loses one after another every single possession.
I have won.
Till he finally comes down to owning nothing but himself and his family.
I have won. My cows, my bulls, my goats. I have won. My forest.
He cannot stop. It is like something has possessed him.
All that I possess.
And one by one, he plays and loses each brother. And finally, he loses himself and says, I don't have anything else. And Duryodhana, who has wanted Draupadi from the beginning, says, but you can play Draupadi. They once again play, lose once again, and are exiled into the forest for 12 years, somewhere where they cannot be found.
The Pandavas fulfill their part of that bargain, but their opponent Duryodhana is unwilling to restore them a small part of the kingdom even when their exile has expired, and even when their friend, the god Krishna, pleads on their behalf.
Yudhishthira, who does not want to wage war, sends Krishna to the Kauravas saying, I don't want my kingdom. I will take 5 cities or 5 villages or even 5 houses, and I will avoid war. And Duryodhana says, I will not
give 5 villages. I will not give 1 village. I will not give the point of a needle of earth.
Let one thing be certain. You will have your glorious death. If the earth is clamoring for victims, we will see a splendid massacre.
The Mahabharata is the story of a war, a pivotal war at a pivotal time. The most ancient of Indian texts, the Holy Vedas, posit vast cycles of astronomical time called yugas, which determine the very character of an age.
To simplify, these cycles are 4 in number, 28,000 years long, declining in virtue until a state of corruption when the world is destroyed, only to be created over again and again and again and again. The last age, Kali Yuga, is the one in which we now live, when things are at their most degenerate, people at their most wicked. But it began, according to the Vedas, 14,000 years ago, when that great battle of Kurukshetra was fought, the battle around which the Mahabharata revolves.
Was there ever such an era or such a battle? If there was one, when was it? And how preposterous are Brahmin students who place it way before recorded history began?
It's customary to view ancient Egypt as the world's longest continuous civilization. It's a view we inherited from the Greeks and Romans, who really knew little beyond the world of the Mediterranean.
The first to see it was Alexander the Great, and something he encountered there dissuaded him from adding India to his empire. Instead, he turned his vast army around and returned west, by all accounts a changed man.
But our ignorance of the vast age of India's civilization was due even more to a tendency to view Europe, our world, as the heart of life on earth, an expedient that was self-serving during the heady days of empire.
We still think that all other civilizations were of minor quality. And this is perhaps why we still have difficulties in accepting that in the Indian subcontinent something developed which was even more important than all the early civilizations.
Janssen is one of the very few Western scientists drawn to an area which, when fully explored, will force history to be rewritten. Found only by chance in the early 1920s by British scholars looking for traces of Alexander the Great. But those were years of spectacular discoveries elsewhere. In Egypt, Tutankhamun's tomb was found, and by comparison what was dug up in India seemed crude and uninteresting, so hardly anyone took notice.
Because it was not sensational enough. The Indus Valley did not bring discoveries like big gold treasuries. So
is it sensational?
Yes, it is very much so. The Northwest Indian area was an area which was very early already inhabited. Here we have now trades which go back to the 8th millennium, and it has a very, very long tradition, which we only know since 10 years, and it should be much more publicized and should get much more public awareness.
Towns in hundreds, arising 7, even 8,000 years before Christ, millennia before Egypt and Mesopotamia, with which we begin our history. Long before the first pharaoh united Egypt, a vast civilization centered on a twin river system in the Indus Valley, the Indus itself and the great river Sarasvati, now vanished. One of the centers was Mohenjo-daro, now found to be the largest archaeological site in the world.
Mohenjo-daro could have easily covered 70,000–80,000 inhabitants. The spread is for more than 1 million square kilometers in the northwest Indian parts. This makes it the largest civilization in the 3rd millennium. It's bigger than Mesopotamia and even Egypt.
We are now just beginning to get a glimpse of how extraordinary this civilization was. 3-story dwellings with running water